with Moodle 1.4, 1.3, 1.4 at the time. And it came out of a need to develop plugins without really having a lot of money and a lot of expertise. We got a bunch of teachers together. We said, well, what is it that we need? How do we do it? We draw pictures, essentially. We identify the needs. We draw interfaces. And then we find some coders who can make it happen. What I'm hoping to impress on you today is that as the educator, as a front-end user, I want you to feel empowered. This is an open source platform, and there are ways for you to influence the development of plugins. Moodle FN project is a project that invites people. So if you're interested in coming into the Moodle FN project with your school, then they would collectively come up with ideas for plugins. We would draw them out. We would find coders. We would find a way to make that happen.
Moodle FN project?
FN, yeah. FN, it started off in 2003. I worked for a tribal council called Kiwetinakokimakane. It's a First Nation. So it really started off, it was created by a bunch of First Nations that wanted to develop plugins for First Nations communities. It's branched. Moodle FN is right there. If you go into Moodle repository, type in Moodle FN, you'll see a list of the plugins we've developed. And there you'll find my name as well if you want to get in touch with me. You'll find some more background about the project itself. I'm not going to talk in depth for too long about it. I put up this redirect at ned.ca will give you. Can I change this? Is it okay?
Just go to another tab. I think you picked your second tab up.
Okay. So if you go to ned.ca, it will essentially take you here, which is a demo site. Now, the colors are very washed out, and the resolution is off, and I don't speak French, so I don't know what the hell's going on. So I would encourage you really to use this site while we're talking. Get in there, play with it yourself. There are these links here will give you the PDF, so a description of the plugins that we'll be reviewing. We won't have time for it today, but if you look at this block here, there's a link to Moodle 2.5. That has a demo of other plugins that we've developed over the years that we haven't upgraded yet to the latest 2.9. We've just finished upgrading the Marketing Manager and the Mentor-Mentee block, and that's what I'm going to demo for you today. Jumping right in. Oh, by the way, what a beautiful day. We had Blue Jays. We had Harper go, and here we are in Montreal for a week, a reason to be away. So I'm feeling particularly good about this week and how it's starting off so far. Marketing Manager, here it is. As soon as you log in, you may be familiar with something similar called the Grade Me block. You log in as a teacher, it gives you a quick view of what it is that needs to be graded. The Marketing Manager so far tracks these three activity types: assignments, forums, quizzes. From here, you would click on any of these courses or activities, and it would open up the interface, and you would grade from there. You could try it out once you're logged in. You can log in as teacher to see that. I'm going to go into a course to give you a view of the block. Now, it's all washed out, so you can't see the borders, but here it is. It tells you these three things. What's left, what has been submitted but not graded, what has been graded, and what has not been submitted. Progress report gives you a quick overview of what's been submitted. I'll give you a quick view of that. Student list. And then three little markers that are a good indicator of what's going on in your class. Particularly useful to quickly identify students that are not performing or not attending. Okay, so once you click on the required grading, you get an interface. Now, the beauty of this plugin is that all of the grading happens here. You don't have to go to the activity and open it up. It all happens in one centralized location. The activity is listed on the left, along with the number. The number tells you how many of those activities have been submitted and need to be graded. Once these go to 0, they disappear from here. So you only get a list of activities that require grading. When you click on an activity, you get a section in the middle that is your feedback. And then the submission would show up at the bottom. If it's a file, if it's an online text, what have you, would show up here, along with any comments. So essentially, it is doing everything that it is not redoing the activity itself in the sense that it's just representing it in a different way. Everything that you see here exists when you open up the activity from the marking manager, from the gradebook, or from the activity itself. Okay. Feel free to throw in any questions at any time. The top, sorry?
Yeah, well, is it all the same capabilities that you would have if you were independent?
Yeah.
Everything? The advantage is really all in one place?
Right. That's the idea, is that we have the grading. First of all, it's easy for the teacher when she or he gets into a course. They know right away what needs to be graded. And then all the grading happens within one specific location.
So if faculty are opening up a file and putting their comments in a file and resubmitting it?
Well, remember, this is just for the teachers. Sorry, can you repeat that question?
So some instructors take the file that's been submitted, open it up, put their changes
Yes, you
in
can.
the file and put it back.
Yeah, if your activity is set up that way, so that you have a feedback file, it will give you the option down here to submit a feedback file.
And one more question. If you had more than one submission, how does it navigate through that?
Okay, so you see these little, it's kind of washed out here, but you can still see it at the top. Once you've saved something here, good, give it a grade, and you click on save. Now, this is also to upgrade the plugin, so you might see some bugs. We just finished the update. But essentially, if you had another one, you would click on the next, and it would cycle through them until you reach 0. The top gives you all kinds of filters if you have a particular group, a participant, or you just want to see the quizzes or just the forums, you can filter according to that.
So the first block that you saw on the home page, which gives you the report, that disappears in this interface.
Right.
You don't have that nifty little kind of 7-word marker or whatever.
Well, you do. 7 more to marker here. These are the ones.
Oh, is that code for the same thing over there?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So it is
So
there.
you open up this interface, and they open them up for you here.
The 3B means 3 left and right.
So it's a bit confusing because the activities are actually named according to this code, but whatever you name them would show up here. That's just the name of the activity.
That numbers are how many to mark.
Yeah, so if I were to go back to the lesson, I see there's 7 activities that require grading. I click on that, and there's 7 total here. As I grade them, that would go down to 0.
Okay. So you see them individually there.
Right, yeah. I'll skip down to graded. So after an activity has been graded, it's located here. Quick way to review what students have submitted. If it shows up in green, then it received a passing grade, whatever your grade for pass was set at. If it's red, it's not. Same with the check mark. If there's multiple submissions, you'll see multiple submissions in line, one after the other.
The question from the online.
Yeah.
Does the student see the block at all, maybe for mark assignments or something?
The student does not see this block. It is a teacher's tool. If you go into the demo site for ned.ca, you'll see a 2.5 version. That has other blocks for students. So we have a block for teachers and a block for students. But this particular tool is just for teachers. It's just meant to simplify the grading and tracking process.
So you've been developing this a long time, and you've been since the early Moodle days.
Yeah.
You're keeping up with the versions. That's pretty awesome.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We started this in Moodle 1.3, 1.4.
This is a brand new upgrade right now.
Yeah. Well, I've noticed too much. So
Yeah.
I mean, that's one thing we look for, right? When we're looking at things, is it how is it
Of course.
developed and are they keeping up to date? So yeah.
So again, multiple submissions, you would get multiple lines. So for example, if this submission didn't pass mustard, then you would have another one that would show green on top. It's a quick way of checking student progress. There's a little arrow on the top right. If you click on that, the internet's working, it will open it up if you want to change it or if you want to review it. So quick access to all your graded activities. And then one that just says, well, I'm going to pick an activity, show me all the students that haven't submitted for that activity. Right, so just by this menu alone, I could see there's 11 students that haven't submitted for this particular activity, for example. Click on their name, send them out a quick email, quick way to check what's going on in your course. Okay, that's the interface side. From the block side, these three links, they parallel the drop-down menu that I showed you, which is essentially, it's a quick way to access those particular menu items, right? So the graded would tell you. But that's a quick, again, a bird's eye view of the course to let you know how your class is doing. The progress report gives you this view. Student's name and submission. What I find really helpful about this interface is this little icon. It's a clock, and it basically says that activity has been submitted, but it hasn't been graded. So we find that particularly useful.
Is this the same one that's built in though?
It's similar. It's similar, yeah. We developed this a while back for our purposes, but it is similar, except this one would show you if an activity is waiting to be graded. Okay, moving right along. The student list is just a quick link. It's a standard list of students that you get from any link. Again, these are helpful little lists of students. You get a list. Now this particular student hasn't been in for 45 years, but we're working on it. We are this close. Again, a quick way of identifying students that might be falling through the cracks. Quick list. Now the block itself, I mean, there's a lot in there. I'm not going to do it, but if you're in the demo site and you actually turn on the editing function and went into the config site for this block, you could turn any of these on or off, right? Because it could be a little overwhelming for your teachers. Maybe your teachers just need to know what they need to grade, period. And that's what you want to show them. Maybe they don't need this information. You can customize that according to your particular needs in the course. Any other questions about that block? How are we doing for time?
20 minutes.
20.
There's another question online.
Okay.
Can it be set up per course rather than globally?
It can. It is. This would be the block at the course level. So if I were to turn editing on here, I could add it or remove it like any regular block, and the same at the front page level. So if I go to the front page, it exists as a block, and I could add or remove that as well.
Okay, and these are, you're writing into the actual assignment module, right? You're not writing into Gradebook. And it's in terms of the data?
Well, they're both, essentially. You're grading the activity.
Right.
So once you've graded the activity, it's like grading it in, like, you're going to have to leave.
Well, you know how when you do the Gradebook, it's an override, right?
Yeah.
So are you going into the Gradebook and overriding by using this, or are you actually grading in the assignment?
You are, if it's been marked already,
Yeah.
you can, and you're remarking, then you are overriding. But if it, essentially, whatever you put in here ends up going into the gradebook, yes. Now, maybe I'm missing the question.
Well, yeah, isn't there when you grade in an assignment,
Go to the Gradebook.
it goes to the Gradebook?
Yeah.
So you still want to set up your gradebook like we talked about earlier
Okay,
in a way that makes sense for your assessment class.
right.
So that's still essential to do that first.
Yeah.
And then this is how you populate it.
The grade essentially is connected to the activity,
Okay.
Yeah.
and the gradebook shows that comment in the grade.
Okay,
And this is another interface.
okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Is this a separate block, the global one? than the
Yeah,
course?
it is the same block, but when you install it at the front page level, it looks different.
And does that automatically then?
Automatic.
put all the courses?
Right. If you're a teacher, all the courses that you're a teacher in will show up here.
Another quick question online is how do you get the FM marketing manager?
On the right. It's on the right now, on the right side of the
Of the page, I presume.
yeah. It behaves like a regular block, but you take it and you put it wherever you want. In that respect, you would just turn anything on, go to the top of the block, and then move it wherever you need to.
Could be docked too, couldn't it?
Could be docked, yeah. But then you miss that kind of bird's eye view. I mean, the whole point is to have it right there when you get into the course to give you a snapshot of what's going on. This has, again, recently been updating. We're just finalizing some last few bugs, so I would encourage you to go in there. If you find any problems, just submit a report. We're just actively trying to finalize it right now for 2.9. Yep.
Can you show what the forms look like when you actually see form posts?
No, we don't actually. So there's no forms there. Yeah, see the image. Okay, good. Okay, so the forums would basically, it's a complicated, we weren't able to isolate the forums here. What we were able to do is report.
Yeah.
And so it tells you what needs to be rated, and then it opens up the forum for you to go in there and do your work. Moving, I'm going to jump into the mentor-mentees block, which is here. Moodle doesn't do a very good job with mentor-mentees yet. I don't know if anybody has played around with that, getting parents in to look at marks, all that stuff. It's not very straightforward. Yeah, so we created a plugin that allows the administrator or anybody who's given the privilege to name mentors and to associate students. When a mentor comes in, so you're getting the administrator view right now, they would see their name and the students that are under their mentorship. When they click on the student, they see a progress report. Now let's just do this really quick. Okay, so you select the students that are under your mentorship. You get the list of students or the student link if you want to send them a quick email. The courses they're registered in. So right now we have all courses selected, a bird's eye view of the courses. Who the teacher is, who the mentor or mentors are for that particular student. How they're doing in that course. How many completed, completed unsuccessfully, not attempted, waiting for grade. There's that waiting for grade block that we had in the other interface as well. And two kind of grades. One that says this is the grade you have now with all the submitted work. This is the grade you have with all of the activities, including the ones not submitted so far. Bird's eye view, all courses in one screen. Now you click on an actual course. I'm going to actually log in as a mentor because I want you guys to see, I want to make sure that I'm seeing what you're seeing. So if you're at that screen, mentor. Okay, so here is Marty, and he has two students. Marty can look by course. If your student has a red icon, that means that at least one of the courses they're taking is below the passing threshold. In this case, it's 50%. If it has a green icon, it means that it's above that threshold. Again, bird's eye view, quick view, the mentor or the teacher logs in, they're able to see right away if that student needs a particular attention or not. Once I go down to, okay, I apologize because none of these students are active. This is a demo course, so it's not populated. But here it is at the course level, science. The only thing they would give you is, remember that overview, that progress report that we saw in the marketing manager? We get a snippet of that here. And as they're progressing through the course, we would see their status shown up here. What's completed, what's attempted, what's passed, what's not. Have a question?
I'm not really that familiar with the mentor. Is that like a role?
Right.
Is that a role that has certain facilities?
It is.
Would they be able to edit?
No.
Grade?
No. Say you had. Yeah, and they wouldn't necessarily. This particular user, you could imagine that these are these are Marty's kids. And you sent Marty. It could be a parent.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so Marty has two kids, Manny and Sully. And you created a role and sent them, if you want to check up on, see how your kids are doing. Marty does not have access to the courses, right? So if he tried to get into the math or science, he wouldn't get in. But he still needs to see how his kids are doing. We want to encourage that parental kind of involvement. These are young kids. So you would click on Manny's, get a quick overview to see how they're doing. Now, what I want to show you actually is, depending on the functions that you give to your mentor, or not your mentor, but your teachers, you can send out notifications that are automated. So it would say, for example, if a student has a grade in this course below this percentage, send out an email every 2 weeks. That would run as a cron. Every 2 weeks, an email would be sent out to students that are performing, or if a student hasn't logged in X number of days after this, send out an email. Very powerful feature we just developed. We just finished adding SMS, so we can send out text messages to phones now, reminding students that something, they're not paying attention to their course. And I'll give you a quick view of that. Pass. So if you have the correct permissions, there you'll see two links at the bottom. Again, the resolution is off on this, but one allows you to add mentors, and the other one allows you to create rules, notification rules. So here's a notification rule, Rule 6. I'm going to open it up. The interface is not very pretty, but so far it does the job. Top section says, well, what's the criteria? When do you want to send it? This is just a test one, but if you wanted to say, if the student hasn't logged in for 10 days, send an email or a text message, whichever you want, to the student, to the mentor, which could be the parent in this case, to the teacher. How often do you want to send this reminder? Right? Every week you want maybe that to run? And you want to put a custom message in there, maybe a contact number for the teacher that they can contact or something like that. And then where to apply it to. Do you want all the courses, a category, a particular course? And this will run and get triggered as needed.
You could use this plugin. We don't use the mentoring.
Yeah.
You could use the plugin for a mag plugin, right? You could put that in and have the teachers use it.
Sure.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
We don't use mentors, but I mean, we can ask for things like that all the time.
Right. And that's why it started off as a mentor-mentee plugin, but I think it's evolved to include some other features that people have been asking for.
Yeah.
We thought about changing the name, but nothing stuck. I'm open to suggestions.
Nag what?
Clarify the mentors are external users.
Yeah, they do. They have a system login, but their role, again, I'm not going to go into because it's going to take too long, but when you install this plugin, you'll be asked to create a role called mentor, called something. And then when you want to add a mentor, you'll need to, or somebody with that role, you'll need to associate them with that role. And that will give them permissions. And then they'll show up as mentors in the interface, and then you can associate students with those mentors.
It's slightly different. Where we have external mentors who don't have system logins.
Yeah.
We need a way to let them in because the persons to then interact.
Yeah, maybe you need like maybe a non-editing teacher role with groups set up.
Or a way to just let people in without having a real login. We try not to.
Yeah.
Was there a chance that you could assign a role permission self-identify as a mentor and pick their students while they were mentoring?
Slim to none. I think that's kind of a security issue. You need somebody really at the top because these are, students, and you need to make sure somebody, the teacher, the administrators, needs to make sure that only the people who are viewing these students. Remember, these are not people who are allowed into the course, right? They're just seeing the progress of the students.
Is it a mentor and a system role or a course role?
It is a system role.
System role. You don't have access to any courses of their child.
They don't. It's tricky, but I think the teacher, in order to preserve some privacy for the teacher as well, and to keep them out of the work. I mean, once you get into a course, you can see forums, you can see activity from other students as well. And really, in terms of the definition of a mentor, they're attached to a user, to a person that they need to check on and make sure are doing well and provide support as needed. You could also give that user another role. They could be a non-editing teacher and they could be enrolled in that course, so they would have both. But in terms of the mentor, the role itself, it's just a view-only role.
It's kind of easy to think about it in terms of the parent, but how they help the student is through knowing what their scores were and through knowing Sorry if I'm a little thick here, not catching it.
Oh, no problem. I'm quite thick myself.
It's like a parent, like following up on their kids and things.
Yeah, but they see the grades, and what else?
Okay,
Their
so
progress.
let's take the English course. So you might say, you know, Adam, what's going on? You missed a couple assignments in topic 4 and topic 5. Did you forget about those? Can we go back and review those?
They don't actually see the content that was signed. That's
Okay, well, from here,
This can actually replace the parent teacher interview.
they can actually, I've clicked on the grades tab. They get a list of all the activities and the grade that they've got. Any feedback comments would show up here as well from the teacher. And so that's a good way, again, for the mentor to stay on top of how the student's doing in the course.
And if you click on the activity where
The activity. I'm an admin. Freak me out there.
okay. If you're a real mentor, you will need no link on that stuff.
Right. I think you would, actually, I'm not sure about that. Recently updated it, but you don't have access to the course, so you probably wouldn't see it. Unless you were given a different role, another role.
Yeah.
And registered, enrolled in that course.
For the notification,
Yeah.
so this is not done at the course level, then, right? This is,
Well, the notifications are done at the site level. This block only exists at the site level.
oh, okay.
So you would create a rule. So down here, you create a rule.
So if an instructor has multiple sites, they set this up in one of their courses, it's not done in other courses.
Well, at the bottom of the rule, there's where you want it to apply to.
Oh,
So you can make a category, you can select a course, you can select all the courses. If you were to say, I'm going to send this rule and I'm going to send it only to the science, you might want to ask the teacher might put in a personal message saying, this is Mr. Thompson, I'm the grade 8 teacher, you know, feel free to contact me, here's my number, here's my contact info, what have you. If you're sending it to the mentor. If you're sending it to the student, you could have another message there. How are we for time? Pretty much done, eh?
Getting close.
Yeah. So we're not coders. I'm a teacher by trade. I wanted to start off by saying that because as an open source platform, there is space, there is room for us to identify our needs, to come together in groups, and to find people who can actually code and make this stuff happen. I think that's an important thing. Oftentimes, a lot of these big plugins are developed by people with a lot of money. A lot of bigger companies and universities end up spearheading a lot of this work. But I want to invite you to come check out the Moodle FN group. And if that interests you, to come on board with us, or at least stay in touch. And to encourage you amongst your communities, and when you go back home, to think of yourselves not only as educators and teachers, but as someone with the power to create plugins and to push this Moodle project different ways.
Industry, that whole sort of coding side of it, like how do you go about that, like freelancer.com or I don't know.
Well, I've been doing this since 2003. So along the way, you meet up with certain coders and you tend to hang on to the good ones, right? And that's where it helps. Just, you know, Moodle has a pretty big community. I'm sure if you maybe get into a couple of forums and start asking around, I might be able to forward you to a coder or two if you're interested. But yeah, it's one of those things where you need to find a couple of coders who you know are competent about that. For me, as an educator, and it took me a long time, and as somebody who knows Moodle fairly well, you know, you're drawing pictures. You know what Moodle can do, you know what it can't do, and you want something in the middle. You draw it out, you speak to other teachers, you speak to a coder, and then you settle on something that's doable that you can actually do. But the first part is to actually sit down and start creating some mock-ups, draw some pictures, and to show people how what they're missing. I mean, we reviewed some things, and you may not need a lot of what I showed you today, but there's probably one or two screens that you thought, wow, yeah, I could do that. And like I said, it's open source, and it's Moodle has a huge community, so I think there's power in that for us to really do some interesting things. Final thoughts, questions?
Can I add something to this?
Yeah.
Just in the recent past, like, in listening to Fernando, we have some school divisions in BC, Alberta, and Saskatchewan who felt this was important enough in terms of actual savings on their online teachers' time. So we're talking K to 12 here. And they felt that strongly enough that they actually were willing to put forth some funding to work towards getting this upgrade done. And the advantage of that, of course, is that you have people that are invested then. So when you come to the TV and how to make this all work, you already have, how can I say, a community within a community. So you have people that have supported this at all levels of the school division, not just the teachers, but the administration can see the value. And so it's very, well, we're in steps yet about what do we do next? Like, do we get funding ready for the next upgrade? How does that work? But that experiment did work, I think, rather well. Would you say, Fernando?
Yeah.
And it was like that happened over the past year, and it was new to what we did. School divisions don't seem to be used to giving that sort of support.
Yeah, and what I found was really what's special about it is that when you take little bits of money from different places, it becomes affordable. Right? If your school can contribute 500, 1,000, and then another school can do that, you get 5 or 8 schools together, and you can make a plug. Yeah, and I think we just finished a round of that.
And I think we're looking at sustainability as being the next idea. I have no idea how it would roll out. That doesn't stop us from starting.
Yeah. The plugins are free. If you go into this page, there's a link on top, Moodle repository. That'll give you a list of all the plugins we've developed over the years. You can search up Moodle FN as a keyword as well. That'll give you a list as well. There are a handful of plugins that we're waiting to upgrade as well. Looking for funding for those. Some we've got already in the works. I encourage you to also test and send back feedback, because this is something that we're working on as we go along. We're a small group, but I think we're doing some interesting things. It's available for this particular update from 2.7 to 2.9. Both these plugins, 2.7 to 2.9.
A question online, or to become a learning analytics tool, could it flag students with the same characteristics as on the course last year, and you created X for certain logging for X days, no form comments, etc.?
Last year?
Yeah, I think it's fun looking. Students last year had these patterns and failed. Are there students this year that are showing similar patterns? Flag them.
The only flag, I mean, the mentor block has a, the only thing that might be helpful is this notes section. You can add a note, which exists in Moodle already, except it gives you an easy way to see notes. So about a particular student. You would add a note here and maybe it flags something about that student that happened last year or whatnot, but I can't really think of a way of tracking students that have taken courses in the past, because essentially those classes are closed, courses are closed, and you're not able to extract data anymore. And but yeah, that notes function might help a little bit.
It's just like read only for the mentor at this point, and they do reports back to somebody if they were mentoring a group within some discipline, or because I know there's things starting to happen. Then that might report back.
There are.
It was just a thought.
Yeah.
Just goes one way right now.
Well, no, there are some permissions in the mentor role, one of which is, for example, allowing the permission to add a note or to view notes. Maybe you want to keep notes away from mentors. You just want your internal staff to view notes to hide this particular feature. Yeah, but for the most part, you're right. It is more of a passive tool. There are links. If the mentor wants to click on the teacher or the student link, they could send a message or that kind of thing. But for the most part, it is kind of a passive tool. Are we over the time? Ned.ca. Yeah, I encourage you even to share that a little bit. If anything sparked your interest today and you want other people to check it out, it's always there. It's always open. It's a great demo of the plugins that we've developed so far. So I want to thank you and enjoy you all, or wish you all the best for the rest of the conference. Cheers.
Yeah. TAs have access to the event monitoring too. Like I know we make it available to TAs, but it might be good to put it towards TAs as well. Paying the TAs grade a lot, right?
I'm going to log in as students.
Yeah, I don't think we did.
If you have a laptop, feel free to.
But it might be something to.
Here's some of the plugins. Some one or two are currently being updated. The others.
I know when we was, when I was testing it after,
Simple navigation. So we're hiding the navigation, especially for younger kids. We want it. You'll find that a lot of the plugins are meant to simplify things down for a younger audience, especially. Only show students what they need to see. So in this case, their messenger, their profile, blogs, and grades, and a list of courses. All they need to see. We go into their courses. Okay. You might see these blocks or these icons are familiar. Now, someone asked if the student sees anything related to the marking manager. They don't, but they see a block called My Progress. And essentially, it would break down the course and tell you, again, much like that marking manager, what you've completed, and that's actually not a good statement, because that's completed but not successfully. So that was completed but didn't meet the grade. Draft, Moodle doesn't do a great job of tracking drafts. When you create an activity or an assignment, there is a section there that says show confirmation button or something like that. Essentially, if they're not giving the confirmation button, then it's in draft mode. They can go back in there and edit it at any time. Yeah, the submit button. So if that button's not there, that activity remains in draft mode. It's a great idea, but I don't think it's implemented properly. And I'm only saying that now because Martin went to get a coffee.
No, I had really issues with that. The submit or not submit, and when to use it when it's not.
Yeah.
I have huge issues with that.
Right. And to me, it muddies the waters. What they really need is a save as draft button and a submit button. Either it's a draft or you've submitted it. And the student needs to know and the teacher needs to know, because there are times when drafts are useful. And so what we tried to do is we created a status that said you have assignments that are in draft mode that aren't submitted. So the teachers can continue to interact with you, but until they're submitted, you'll see a draft. You'll see it as a draft. You'll see that in the regular Moodle, all of the completion check marks are on the right side. We moved it to the left. This is a course format, this particular plugin. We moved it because it's much clearer on this slide. It's right next to the activity. If you don't do it right, you get an X there. If it's not complete, you get an empty there. If you've completed that activity, you will see a clock here that says, I've done that. It's submitted. It just hasn't been graded yet. They will see that here, waiting for grade. And again, that marking manager block that the teacher would see waiting for grade, that would show up there. If I do a mouse over on a particular week or section, it would tell me how many have I submitted? How many have I not submitted? How many have been submitted that came back as unsuccessful? Waiting for grade and drafts. Quick overview. If you have a tab with a red section or line on top, it means there are at least one activity. There is at least one activity in that week or section that is not complete. So one is red because that guy needs to get done. As a student, you come into the course, you know right away from that screen how far along you are in the course. So if I go to 2, see that all the check marks are done from the students, so everything's green, everything's honky dory.
Okay, so the check marks, do they work the same way as
Yeah, completion tracking. Yeah, so at the bottom part of each activity, you'll have a completion tracking.
Yeah, okay.
It says this, mark this activity as complete when, and then you would set the criteria. What we like to use is grade to pass, which is hidden, which is not easily found. You have to go into the gradebook and find some secret trap door and open it, because it really is. They've recently added it in 2.9. Now it's part of the interface, but before then, hard pressed to find this grade to pass, which is pretty straightforward when you think about it. Okay, here's an assignment. And mark it as complete when they receive a grade. Well, what grade? I mean, when they receive a grade more than 50%, okay, that makes sense to me. And so that's why we got into these, right? Yeah, it's complete. That's complete too, but in the regular Moodle system, you would just get a check mark there. It's not very intuitive or informative for the student. It doesn't tell them that it's complete, but it's not up to snuff, right? This allows the student to see that that activity needs to get redone, resubmitted. This block here, rather than having to open up each activity, they go here. They see a list of all the assignments that they've completed, and a quick link to all of the activities themselves.
A lot of my students do this through the gradebook itself.
Now, what level are you teaching? High school or university? Oh,
Do it, see grades. Like it.
yeah, no, and you could do both. Certainly, this is a good, again, I keep getting back to that bird's eye view, a quick way for students to know where they're at. But you could very well have a block here that says my grades, other links related to it. I think
Comment here, I mean, have you thought of adding the grade beside that?
you decide here.
Yeah, there, and then
Like just having another column.
Oh, you mean once you click on here?
third quiz complete, and what was the lowest?
For a reporting feature, right?
Right. So it will be here, and then you have a column here with feedback and grade. Yeah, sure. I think when it comes time to update this particular plugin, things like that would probably come onto the table, yeah. Long, and we're at that time where, according to the schedule, kind of this is where we. I want to respect that time. Maybe just open it up quick for any final thoughts or any questions. So as the administrator, when you install that block, then you need to create a role, and then whoever you add to that role would have certain permissions. So, are you familiar with the roles? If you go into the admin panel, there's users and then roles, and then you get a list of the roles: teacher,
But
student.
like specifically for the instructor in that role, and they send out those notifications?
They can. If they're the teacher, they can. If not, you have to add them. A teacher could be added as a mentor.
No. I'm not into that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure as well. Once you get into the roles, though, there are permissions or capabilities that you can associate with that role. So if you wanted your mentors to be able to send out notifications, you can turn that on or off. And there's a short list of other capabilities that you can turn on the mentor role. But I just logged in as a teacher, and I'm able to create a rule and send out notifications as a teacher. Questions, comments? Great. Well, have a great time. Med dossier, don't forget to share that around. If you need to get in touch, I'm around, or send us an email. And Moodle FM, if you're interested in dropping by virtually to check out what we're up to, please do. Enjoy the rest of your.
For those who are interested, the break is just beside the